Um, so in your experience, whether it's firsthand or whether it's as a student board member, kind of hearing stories from people, because I imagine that a decent chunk of what you do involves um, not just being a voice for students in meetings, but actually, talking to students and hearing about what's going on with them and what they're feeling.
Yeah.
How do you feel about disciplinary policies in Prince George's County schools?
Yeah. So for a very long time, I probably have the book. Give me one second. I probably have the book somewhere. One of these big fat books have to be in it. I don't know where it is. I'll probably find it. This is the budget. Okay, I think this is it actually. Told you I have books all around me. Told you all the time. So a lot of what the school system does is we try to figure out what's working for us and what isn't. And we try to kind of amend the behavior policies year by year because things happen, things change, and when you have a spike here, you might have to adjust it this when we try to adjust as much as possible, but we also try to be kind of amendable to our students and kind of figure out what type of behavior are they distributing and why are they distributing that. For a very long time, not only in our school system but just across the board, we've been disciplining students, and you could even say punishing students for acting out, for fighting, and we never ask why are students doing this. We always say, okay, because they did this, they disciplined. And I want to say a couple of years back, a lot of states took a really deep dive into behavior in schools, and we figured out, hey, these kids aren't bad kids. There's a lot of trauma at home, and they take that trauma with them when they walk through our school doors, and they just emulate what they see at home.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happened, you have the word restorative practices and restorative circles coming into play. So something that we've been doing in the school system is we've really been looking at, okay, what's working in other school systems, what's happening in our school system, and what's that sweet spot that we can get into to kind of figure out, what are we disciplining students for? If a student fights and they tell us why they fight, do we suspend them, or do we say, let's find out why you fought. Let's sit you down with that student. Let's talk about it. And if you all can work through it, okay, we're going to give you a day or two off, to discipline you. But at the same time, we're going to make sure that you understand what you did was wrong, and we're going to talk with you through it. And in addition to that, for so long, those conversations haven't been happening. And for a lot of these students, when they skip, when they fight, it's because they want to be out of school. So by suspending them for a week or two, you're giving them what they want. So that's why it's more important that we can actually keep them inside the school building and work with them. I do know for a lot of students, it's menial offenses that'll get them suspended. And I've always argued, in Prince George's County, we are a uniform school. You should never suspend a kid for uniform. Never. I've always argued for policy, changing policies like that. So I don't know of any particular places, but there are cases where it's menial offenses that students are being, suspended for. And when I find out about it, I always say, we need to go back and change that policy. You can't suspend a student because they don't have uniform. If they don't have uniform, you should set up, a program in your school where you can get uniform from older kids, and you can give them uniform during the day, but you should never suspend a kid for uniform. You should never suspend a kid because they don't have their ID on or they're not wearing the right color shoes. Those type of things, right. I really find them as menial offenses.
I know another thing that is very controversial in certain places. Like I live in Silver Spring, and Montgomery County just had to strike a provision from a community policing bill that would have expanded the school resource officer program.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that program? What do you see of the relationships that those officers have with student bodies, and how does that affect, the life of a school student?
So I believe it was two years ago where the state of Maryland was just shooken with the shooting at Great Mills High School, and that was around the same time as I was sitting on the committee, and the question I posed to the committee and a lot of my colleagues back then had asked is, what roles are SROs playing in the school? How much do we arm them, and how many of them do we need in the school? And something that I've always said, and till this day I'll always say it, we never need police officers in full SWAT uniforms in our schools. We never need it. We should never have those in our schools. What we should have is security. And what security looks like is making sure that students aren't skipping school, that we're not allowing people in the building that aren't supposed to be in the building, that we have security officers like SROs that aren't policing kids, they're protecting them. And those two words are very distinct: policing and protecting.